Hi, I'm Jessie, the Sleepy Koala, and today I will be going through my January TBR. I've decided this month that I kind of want to go back to reading my own books instead of library books. I do have a couple of library books left that I will include on the TBR, but whether I get to them or not, I'm not completely sure. But there's just so many books that I own, and I've bought a lot of books recently, and I just want to go through and actually start reading some of my own physical TBR. But also, on top of this, I have a couple of series that I have started recently that I want to finish. I don't want to split up series, and I don't particularly like how long I have spent between books 1 and books 2 of these two series. So I'm going to also read those as well. And then once I'm through those, I can start reading the other things that are on my physical TBR at the moment, a lot of which are series. So I feel like a lot of my TBRs going forward, there will be the ongoing series and then like maybe another book or two. I know that I've been trying to keep up listening to things on Audible and having at least one audiobook going. So that'll be at least like 2 to 3 things a month. And I have been reading more each month, which I'm stoked about and surprised about, but I'll take it. So I'm not quite sure if I want to spread series out, so I do 1 book a month, and then that way I can read other things at the same time, or if I just want to immediately go from books 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, however many, without having any break in between. So I'll see how it goes. I know for Mistborn Era 1, I have been spreading it over a couple of months. I'm doing 3 books, 3 months, and that is partially because these are beefy boys. These are big books, and I don't really want to feel rushed with reading them because they are so big. They are also a reread, which makes things a little bit easier because I can kind of take my time but know what's going to happen and not have to put as much energy and effort into learning the characters and learning the world. So I might do that for other series as well and just split them over months so that I can read other things. I kind of like that idea, so I think I'm going to do that. I think that's what I'm going to actually do going forward. That works out well in that case because it means that I can still read other things on my TBR while also having ongoing series. The trick, I think, here is the trick that I am going to have to get around or through, is not just ending up with multiple series to the point that I'm reading 4 or 5 series at once and then doing 1 book from each of those series a month. Because that way, if there's other things I want to pick up, then I kind of can't because I'm running out of room each month. But maybe that's okay. If I've got so many series in my physical TBR, then maybe it's okay if I'm only reading series and just in different points in them. I will see. We will see how this goes. First up are the series that I have ongoing at the moment. So a couple of months ago, I think 2 months ago, I read A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos, and I really enjoyed the second half in particular and really wanted to immediately go out and pick up the second book. And I immediately went and ordered the second book and then haven't picked it up until right now, which is a little bit frustrating with this book in particular because this one immediately picks up where the first one stops. So if I had the ending of the first one in my brain really fresh, then that probably would have helped when I started this one. Luckily, the second book, The Missing at Clairedelune, actually has a little summary at the very beginning of the book of the most important points from the first one. And I love this. This is so helpful. Books should always do this. Let's have a last week on in every book so that we know what was happening in the book before and we know which points that we need to keep in mind. That was very helpful. So I really liked that. The book follows on with the story of Ophelia, who has had to go to these winter courts as a political bride and is learning to navigate these political situations. The courts are magical. We have a lot of different factions that all have different powers as well. Just so you know, the politics was not hard enough. Now we have to make it magical politics. Ophelia also has a very interesting relationship with her fiancé-to-be husband. Neither of them want to be married, neither of them want to be in this marriage, and neither of them seem to like each other very much. And Ophelia in particular doesn't like her husband at the start of this book because of some stuff that he's done, and she is pissed with him to the point where she just ignores him and won't talk to him and avoids him. To be fair, he also rarely shows up where she is, so it's not that hard to do. Ophelia herself is also magical. She has the ability to read the history of objects that she touches, and she can also jump through mirrors, which is a lot of fun when she gets stuck in a mirror. I really enjoy how much this book incorporates Ophelia's powers into the plot, and this book really starts to explore that relevance and looking into the exact reasons why she was chosen for this political marriage and what she now has to do to survive the courts, but also survive the family spirit who is like a god who governs the arc that she is on, because the world is split into different floating bits of land known as arcs. But so far, this has been a very good book. I was expecting it to be very good. It's very fast-paced, and I am enjoying it. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in it and then going on with the rest of this series. The second book that I have is also part of a series. This one is Legendary, which is the second book after Caravel. This actually switches POVs. So the first book is from the POV of Scarlet, and this one is from the POV of her sister, Donatella. I really like Donatella. I think she is a very fun character who is impulsive and a little bit crazy and very happy to get up to mischief. So I'm actually quite excited to read from her perspective. I've heard that this POV switch can throw a lot of people, and I think it helps that I heard about it before I started reading this book. Going from one book to a second book that's completely different POV without knowing about it beforehand and having a heads up, yeah, that sounds like a lot of whiplash right there. But I was able to avoid that because people told me about the POV switch beforehand. But this should be a fun book. I have also started this one and I'm enjoying it so far. It's been a good book, as I suspect the rest of it will be. This is shaping up to be quite a good book, and we will have to see how it goes. The next book that I want to read this month was an impulse buy when I went to the bookshop yesterday. It looked really good, and it has illustrations apparently, and it's just a very hefty book as well. It is the Witcher book, The Last Wish. I assume this is the first one because this is the one that they made hardcover and pretty and put illustrations in. So I haven't actually looked that up. So if anyone happens to know what order you're meant to read The Witcher in, and I'm about to read them horrendously out of order and shouldn't read this one yet, please let me know because I am not currently aware. But I am just going to go off the fact that they made this one special, so therefore this is one that you can start with. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I binge-watched the second season of the show when it first came out, and I found a very interesting thing with The Witcher show. After I watched the first season, I was very interested to play the video games. And then after the second season, I'm very interested in reading the books. So I'm glad that I saw this yesterday at the bookshop, and I will be looking to get into this book sometime this month. I have absolutely no idea what this is about. There is not even a synopsis on the interior cover. It just talks about the publication history of these books. But the thing I really like about this book, however, under the front cover, we have a quote. That's awesome! That looks so cool. It says, "People like to invent monsters and monstrosities. Then they seem less monstrous themselves. Geralt of Rivia." I think this is a fantastic way to do a cover, and I would like more books to do this now, please. As well as the cool quote under the cover, we also have these character portraits as the end pages. They're on both ends, so we get to see a little bit of the different characters and who they are. I imagine that these also match up with some of the illustrations that are inside the actual book. So I'll be looking forward to finding those illustrations. I did have a flick through and really struggled to find them. So I only found one, and it did look pretty awesome, and it was of Yennefer. She looked pretty cool. I also plan to read The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the third book in the Mistborn trilogy. I have just finished Well of Ascension, the second book, so time to move on to the third one. This book is brilliant. I really can't talk of anything about what's in it because it's all spoilery. It's very spoilers, much spoilers. But to say the least, I love the plot in this. I think There are some brilliant storylines that go on. I think I like every storyline in this book. I don't think there are any that I'm a bit dull about, whereas the second book, there was at least one that I was just like, nah, I didn't care very much about at all. We also get some amazing character moments in this book, and the conclusion of this book blew me away the first time I read it. So I'm looking forward to being blown away again this time around. Next up is actually a non-fiction book. I am not really a non-fiction reader. I have trouble paying attention to it, and I would prefer to just read fiction, honestly. Unless I have to read a non-fiction book, I'm generally going to choose a science fiction, fantasy, or young adult fantasy over a non-fiction book. Even though I know they have so much in them, it's just not what I normally want to read. But I do want to read this one. This was a Christmas gift from my husband. It's Teach Yourself How to Learn. I am going back to school in the next couple of weeks. I am going back to a community college, and even though I'm starting with one class, I will be going up to full-time load to do some prerequisites, then apply for another course that has a 2-year wait list, to then eventually hopefully do that course, to then get the qualifications to do the stuff that I was qualified to do in Australia. So there's a bit of a wait. But I do go back to school soon. And I have been out of schooling for about 2.5 years now, I think. And I am very nervous about going back. This isn't helped by the fact that I have this real bad anxiety at the moment, and it's just infecting every part of my life. Part of what I was getting really anxious about was whether I'd be able to go back to school and learn and do well again and not fall behind, and all of these other things that my brain just kind of latched onto and said, this is going to be terrible, this is going to be hard and bad. So I started watching all of these YouTube videos on better ways to learn, better ways to study, and my husband has actually started reading the teacher's guide of this book and really likes it. So he got me this for Christmas. It's very short, as a way to help me get some more information so that I can be prepared and ready for when I do start studying. I am really enjoying this book because I have started this one as well. It is exactly what I was looking for. It's based around Bloom's taxonomy of learning and the different levels that you can learn at. And I have heard of this before and am looking forward to looking more into that. It looks a lot at metacognition and also different techniques that you can use to help improve your study and help improve your type of learning and move away from just the rote repetition, which is a lot of what I did before. It's the other thing is I did pretty well by the end of my university course. I was doing quite well in my classes at that point, but I was still just rote learning, rote memorization. And that is not actually a very good way of learning, and I have forgotten a lot of what I learned because of that. So I'm looking forward to putting the strategies in this into play with my upcoming study, and I'm looking forward to reading this book. It helps that it is very short. I think a longer book I would struggle with more, but it's kind of hard not to justify reading something so short. The audiobook that I am going to listen to this month is Good Omens. I am a little bit on the fence about starting this one because I am not much of a Neil Gaiman fan. I have struggled with his works before, and I don't think I'm much of a Pratchett fan. I read something from Pratchett years and years and years and years ago, and I remember not liking it, so I don't quite remember why, and I don't know if it's inherently the way Pratchett writes that I didn't like, or if there was something specific to that book. It makes me wonder whether I like Pratchett either. So, Good Omens, written by two authors that I don't like very much, or don't know if I like very much, is gonna be an interesting ride. We will see how it goes. I love the TV show though, and that's why I want to read it. I want to get the story again, but from the original context, not just from the TV show. I have found that the TV show is really helping with the reading experience because I can fill things in that were more visual that aren't coming across on the page. And I love that the actual audiobook that I'm listening to is a full cast, including David Tennant as Crowley and Michael Sheen as Aziraphale. So that is really cool. I do like the full cast thing, and I do like that they were able to get the two main actors in to do the voices for these characters. But I'm hoping that it goes well. I'm hoping that I can get through this book and I don't end up DNFing it, which is what I'm worried about. But I'll just have to see. I really like Aziraphale and Crowley as the two main angels and devils. They have such an incredible relationship and dynamic together, and they are hilarious and they are fun to read, and I am very much looking forward to seeing how they deal with the end of the world. The other books that I have that I might read this month, but I'm also not sure of, are the library books that I have left. I have two. I have The Book of Lies and Two Boys Kissing. This is a fantasy book with two sisters in it. This is a bunch of stories about different boys kissing. And I do want to read these, but I don't know if I want to read them right now. I really do want to get into the books that are on my physical TBR and start plowing through those. So these have kind of been put to the side. I might read them, but it's more likely that I will just take them back to the library at this point. Last up is Chobits. So I have 2 volumes left. I have volumes 6 and 7, and I'm really hoping that something actually happens in these volumes and that the central plot moves forward a little bit more, because I need something to help hold me there, to help grab me back in, because I'm just a bit bored reading these at the moment. But hopefully these have got something, and then I will have to see if the library has more of these or if I have to go find them in a different manner. Well, that is everything. That is what I plan to read in January. It should be a good reading month. I think I can get through most of the books that I've mentioned here, if not all of them, besides the library books. But if I can get through everything, including the library books, that would be great. Let me know what you plan to read this month. If you have any thoughts on any of these books in particular, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!